Virtually every major deity in the Sumerian Anunnaki pantheon was regarded as the patron of a specific city and was expected to protect that city's interests. The deity was believed to permanently reside within that city's temple. One text mentions as many as 50 Anunnaki associated with the city of Eridu. In the narrative of Inanna's descent into the netherworld, only the 7 great Anunnaki are mentioned. They were thought to possess extraordinary powers and were often envisioned as being of tremendous physical size. The deities typically wore melem, an ambiguous substance that covered them in terrifying splendor. Melem could also be worn by heroes, kings, giants, and even demons. The effect of seeing a deity's melem on a human is described as nai, a word for the physical tingling of the flesh. Deities were almost always depicted wearing horned caps, consisting of up to 7 superimposed pairs of ox horns. They were also sometimes depicted wearing clothes with elaborate decorative gold and silver ornaments sewn into them. The ancient Mesopotamians believed that their deities lived in heaven, after an earlier history of visiting Earth in the mythological texts, and that a god statue was a physical embodiment of the god himself. As such, cult statues were given constant care and attention, and a set of priests was assigned to tend to them. These priests would clothe the statues and place feasts before them so they could eat. A deity's temple was believed to be that deity's literal place of residence. The gods had full-sized barges which were normally stored inside their temples and were used to transport their cult statues along waterways during various religious festivals. The gods also had chariots, which were used for transporting their cult statues by land. Sometimes a deity's cult statue would be transported to the location of a battle so that the deity could watch the battle unfold. The major deities of the Mesopotamian pantheon, which included the Anunnaki, were believed to participate in the assembly of the gods, through which the gods made all of their decisions. Out of the many incredible artifacts that have been recovered from sites in Iraq where flourishing Sumerian cities once stood, few have been more intriguing than the Sumerian king list. An ancient manuscript originally recorded in the Sumerian language, the Sumerian king list is a register of the kings of Sumer, ancient southern Iraq, from Sumerian and neighboring dynasties. The list includes their names, supposed reign lengths, and the locations of official kingship. What makes the Sumerian king list so unique is the fact that it blends apparently mythical pre-dynastic rulers with historical rulers who are known to have existed in real life. The first fragment of this rare and unique text, a 4,000-year-old cuneiform tablet, was found in the early 1900s by German-American scholar Hermann Hilprecht at the site of ancient Nippur, and his results were published in 1906. Since Hilprecht's discovery, at least 18 other exemplars of the King's List have been found, most of them dating from the second half of the Isin dynasty. No 2 of these documents are identical. However, there is enough common material in all versions of the Sumerian King List to make it clear that they are derived from a single ideal account of Sumerian history. The rulers in the earliest dynasties are represented as reigning fantastically long periods. After the kingship descended from heaven, the kingship was in Eridug. In Eridug, Alulim became king. He ruled for 28,000 years. Alaljar ruled for 36,000 years. 2 kings. They ruled for over 64,000 years. Some of the rulers mentioned in the early list, such as Etana, Lugalbanda, and Gilgamesh, are mythical or legendary figures whose heroic feats are subjects of a series of Sumerian and Babylonian narrative compositions. The early list names 8 kings with a total of over 200,000 years from the time when kingship descended from heaven to the time when the flood swept over the land, and once more, the kingship was lowered from heaven after the flood. After the flood, the king list records kings who ruled for much shorter periods of time. Thus, the Sumerian king list not only documents a great flood early in man's history, but it also reflects the same pattern of decreasing longevity as found in the Bible. Men had extremely long lifespans before the flood and much shorter lifespans following the flood. The Sumerian king list truly is a perplexing mystery. Why would the Sumerians combine mythical rulers with actual historical rulers in one document? Why are there so many similarities with Genesis? Why were ancient kings described as ruling for thousands of years? These are just some of the questions that still remain unanswered after more than a century of research. At the pinnacle of the Anunnaki hierarchy resides Anu, the Sky Father, sovereign of the celestial domain and the embodiment of the heavens. According to the ancient texts, Anu's reign transcends the governance of a pantheon. It represents the cosmic order, the balance between the celestial and the terrestrial. Anu's existence, shrouded in time, paints a picture of a being whose wisdom and power were beyond comprehension. As the ruler of Nibiru, the home planet of the Anunnaki, Anu's decisions were pivotal in the shaping of human history and the destiny of Earth. The tales speak of Anu's arrival on Earth as a colonizer, but seeking to bridge the gap between worlds. His mission was said to revolve around the acquisition of resources vital for his home planet's survival. Gold, with its unique properties, played a crucial role in this interstellar quest. Alalu, according to the ancient texts, was a predecessor to Anu's throne. His reign, marked by both achievement and discord, eventually led to his downfall and subsequent flight from Nibiru, a power struggle that would see him dethroned. His story is a testament to the turbulent politics of the Anunnaki. Banished yet undeterred, Alalu's odyssey took a fateful turn as he set his sights on a distant blue-hued world, Earth. Steering his spacecraft through the vast, uncharted void, Alalu embarked on a solitary journey, driven by the hope of redemption and a chance to reclaim his lost stature. Upon arriving on Earth, Alalu's discovery would send ripples through the fabric of both Nibiru and Earth's future. It was gold, the precious metal that held the key to Nibiru's atmospheric woes, that Alalu found in abundance on this young, vibrant planet. This monumental find would not only vindicate Alalu, but also beckon the Anunnaki to Earth, setting the stage for their grand enterprise. Alalu's communication back to Nibiru, laden with the promise of gold, served as a beacon for Anu and his kin, drawing them to Earth's bounteous lands. Thus Alalu, the precursor, became the catalyst for the Anunnaki's involvement with Earth, intertwining their destinies in a saga of exploration, exploitation, and eventual enlightenment. Father Carlos Crespi Croce was born in Milan, Italy in 1891 and died in 1982. He was a Salesian monk who dedicated his life to worship and charity and lived in the small town of Cuenca in Ecuador for more than 50 years. A man of many talents, he had been an educator, botanist, anthropologist, musician, and above all, humanitarian. Because of his missionary work, he became close to the indigenous people of Ecuador and was a highly respected person among the tribes, who considered him a true friend of theirs. The indigenous people gave Father Crespi gifts of ancient artifacts to thank him for the work he was doing to help them. They said the items brought to him had been found in subterranean tunnels in the jungles of Ecuador, spanning more than 200 kilometers, starting from the village of Cuenca. The amazing artifacts given to him had uncanny similarities with civilizations of the East and were enough to fill up a large museum. Father Crespi was trusted by the Vatican to open a museum in the Salesian school at Cuenca, and up until 1960 it was the largest museum in Ecuador. However, Crespi suggested that there was an obvious connection between the artifacts and the ancient civilizations of Babylon and Sumeria. What he did not consider is that such a suggestion would go against mainstream opinions. A short time later, the museum was burnt down and most of the artifacts were destroyed, with the exception of a few that he managed to save. However, when Father Crespi died, all the remaining artifacts were hidden from public view forever. Rumors suggest that the artifacts were shipped to the Vatican. Father Crespi claimed that most of the symbols and prehistoric representation on the artifacts are older than the Great Flood. Explorer Richard Wingate mentioned that the artifacts were identified as Assyrian, Egyptian, Chinese, and African. The credibility of Father Crespi and his collection is not under doubt. However, the age and the origin of the items is still unknown, and the fact that all of them vanished makes it more difficult to research further into their origins. Just imagine what the revelation of such a treasure would mean for the books of archaeology and our perception of human origins.
Are presented as ufologists don't present graves. The alleged three main alien species: the Greys, the Nordic, and the reptilians. Those three alien species are white supremacy and white racism. The Nordics and the Greys are white people inserting themselves into the UFO narrative. And the reptilians are white people demonizing the black pilots of the true UFO narrative. Now, the Greys originated with H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells theorized what Europeans would look like in the year 1 million. And H.G. Wells said, based on white people, Europeans being a brain people, they will produce such high level technology in the future that they would not need to do any manual work. So the brain will grow and their head will grow to accommodate their increased brain mass, but their body will atrophy because they don't have to use limbs. So their body will atrophy. They will grow skinny of body, but big of head. The skin will be gray. They won't have a brow ridge. They will lose facial features. They will lose their ears. They will lose the appendages that are not necessary anymore. So he projected the future European in the late 19th century. His future European that was presented as science fiction, but science fiction based on H.G. Wells's learned observation. But what was presented as learned science fiction in the 19th century was made ufological fact. Now, the ufologists are real transparent with these grays. So now they're saying they're not extraterrestrial, they're extra temporal. They don't necessarily come from another planet, they come from another time period. They are the future man coming back. But by future man, the gray is by definition of future European. So the gray is transparently white people in the future. And ufology, or the UFO narrative, has been hijacked by white people through the Greys and through the Nordics. And of course, Nordics, these white people from Venus. The government established in the holy city of Mecca is a government of 12 men. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad described them as the 12 major scientists. In the Anunnaki, the Sumerians talk about the 12, the council of 12 among the Anunnaki gods, but not just Sumerian Anunnaki, all of religion, certainly all ancient religion, is anchored in the acknowledgement and the worship of this council of 12 gods rooted in Mecca. The 12 men who occupied those 12 seats of supreme power in the universe, they pass that seat from father to son. Among the 12, one is supreme over all of them. That's the supreme being, not just of earth, but the Lord of all the world.